Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television is sponsored by Nutrien. Nutrien, feeding the future.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Perspective. This is a public affairs presentation of Florida Gateway College. My name is Mike McKee. My guests on the program represent Haven Hospice. We have with us Lynn Sullivan, professional liaison with Haven, Lauren Pinchak, the volunteer coordinator, and Brian Coleman, who is the chaplain at Haven. We'll talk to all of them about the services provided to patients in the last part of live. We'll do that when we come back. Don't go away.
You don't have to be so strong.
Strength is not optional. This is my mother, my purpose. Real muscle is lifting her spirits between bedpans and bad news from doctors that doubt her strength. Strength is buried in bills, managing meds, and swallowing those moments of, Mom, it's me, your daughter. Remember? My strength is super, but I'm still human, right?
Find support for your strength. Visit aarp.org/caregiving for care guides and community.
Welcome back to Perspective on FGC TV. I also like to welcome the listeners on WQHL, the Big 98, and WCJX, the X, for being with us today. My guests all represent Hospice here, Haven Hospice, Lynn Sullivan, Lauren Pinchak, and Brian Coleman. Welcome to you all. Thank you.
Welcome, Mike.
I guess, Lynn, I guess we can start with you. And for those who are not familiar with what hospice care is, I mean, you might have a good idea of what you think it is, but what is it in a nutshell?
It's care at the end of life. It's when you have a disease that's progressed that we can keep you comfortable, but we don't do any extraordinary measures to keep you alive. Hospice care is about the family having the best life with whatever time you have remaining. It's quality of care. We help you to resolve any unfinished issues. We enhance and repair relationships with your family, and it gives you time to say goodbye. It's peaceful, and we hope to help everyone have a better death experience.
And this is always a tough subject, Lauren, to talk about, and maybe, Brian, this is a better question for you. The subject of death, once you realize it, there's some, I mean, family and the loved one themselves have a lot that they go through. Talk a little bit about what that means in an environment like Haven.
Absolutely, Mike. Thanks for the question. Our mission statement is honoring life through care, comfort, and compassion. And so being able to be with families at some of the most vulnerable times in their lives, being able to help them in that disease process is very meaningful. It also encourages them to find new areas that maybe have been unexplored. One of the things chaplains do is help them in their spiritual journey during this time, also psychosocial and emotional needs. It's one of the great blessings of being a chaplain.
And I think Lynn mentioned that sometimes families have not always gotten along, and there may be an estrangement. Talk about, I mean, is that something that you guys try to work through, or is that up to the patient, or what? Is this all part of the counseling process? And anyone can answer. Or maybe Brian?
Absolutely. What I have found most often is we are certainly there for the patients, and that's our primary goal, but patients have a context, and they have loved ones, and their whole family are around them. And so oftentimes, I spend a majority of my time with family members, helping them come to terms and try to understand exactly what's going on, helping them to address needs, especially if they have children. So the family is an important part of our work and our ability to be able to support families during this time.
Okay, so at what point is hospice brought in? Lauren, is this up to the doctor, or is this a combination of we can't do anything more? How does that work?
Sure. Being hospice appropriate is your doctor is saying that you have a 6-month window of life, and if the disease takes its normal course, and that would make you hospice appropriate. And I'm going to defer to Lynn to actually referral sources for referring to hospice if you know somebody who you think may qualify.
Every person on Medicare has a hospice benefit. It is a free service that's provided to anybody 65 or older. Those younger than that usually have insurance which pays the benefit as well. But the actual criteria and the referrals can come from anyone. The family member can make a referral. A doctor can make a referral. Anybody can call our local number and refer a patient or a couple. Maybe you have 2 elderly people that are trying to take care of each other and they need some help and they're nearing the end of life, and we can come out and do that. We take care of people in their homes. We take care of people in nursing homes. We take care of people in assisted living. We like.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that people think it's just that you go to this place.
Right.
Let's take a look at the place itself. Your hospice, which is located on US 90 West. We went out there. It's a relatively new facility.
The care center is actually 10 years old. It's a beautiful facility. We're the only hospice with a care center in the area, and we actually serve 5 counties directly within. Haven as a whole has 18 counties. We serve 18 counties. In our market area is Lafayette, Union, Columbia, Suwannee, and Hamilton County. Yes, correct. And so this is our beautiful care center. We have a great courtyard. There's a memorial walkway, which is available to anyone who would like to purchase bricks in honor of their loved one. We also have little granite strips you could purchase to honor those loved ones. It's a beautiful little area. It's very scenic.
Kind of looks like maybe something you'd see in Europe.
Yeah, it's just really calming. There's turkeys that pass through the field in the afternoons. There's little quiet places. All the rooms are really lovely, decorated, and very calm and peaceful. They have refrigerators, large bathrooms, chairs for loved ones to sit with their loved one. And
notice the artwork in the room is kind of a relaxing type of art.
Yeah, and all the rooms have different kind of themes. So you'll see different art in all the rooms. We also have a great arts care program, and that's where local artists give their art and they price their art. And if art sells in our care center, 35% goes to Haven, and the rest goes to the artist. So it's a great way to give back, to donate to Haven.
And I understand this is an Altrusa sponsored area for children?
Yes, when it was built, they donated the supplies and the art and everything for that room for the kids to go.
And this is Brian's area.
This is the chapel.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a beautiful chapel with the stained glass. Really gives you a spiritual, very way to think about and meditate, but also to pray.
There's, Lauren, you were talking about the artwork. Is this the Art League of North Florida?
The Art League of North Florida in Live Oak and Lake City. We have some great talented artists that provide their art and our art care program is really successful actually because loved ones really gravitate toward the art outside their loved one's room. So patients and families purchase a lot of the art, so we're very fortunate.
And the general public, if even though they may not have a patient who is at the facility, the general public can come out there and visit. I mean, number one, to see what the facility looks like and get a feel for the facility, should there need arise at some point. But you can also buy the artwork and take a look at what's out there.
Absolutely.
There's, again, it's one of a kind art that is done by a local artist. When you're talking about the facility itself, that's one thing. That's probably closer toward the end of life, right, Lynn?
Well, there are 3 different reasons that you can come to the care center. You can come for respite care if your caregiver needs to go to a wedding or a graduation and you have no one else to stay with. You can come to the care center for respite care. We have 16 beds. They're all private rooms. The second reason you could come is like an emergency room. Instead of going to the hospital, you can come to our care center for general inpatient care. If you have symptoms that need attending to, anxiety or unable to eat or different things like that, then you can come and get care instead of going to the hospital. And the last reason, of course, you may come is when you are closer to end of life.
Now, but you also do home care, so you will visit patients at home. Let's talk too, if someone wishes to pass at home, that's a wish that you probably hear quite a bit. They don't want to be in a facility, so you will go to the patient's
majority
house.
of our patients are cared for in their homes.
80% of patients want to be at home when they pass.
Absolutely.
There's something familiar, there's something calming about that this is where you've lived most of your life. For a lot of folks that are end of life is near, so it is kind of a neat thing that hospice does.
Correct, and chaplains and nurses, CNAs, doctors will all, and social workers will all visit the home for those meetings and to provide comfort for them. Absolutely.
Absolutely, Mike. And we also are in facilities, not just homes, but certainly some people are in facilities in long-term care. We also provide hospice services there where doctors, nurses, social workers, chaplains for spirituality, and home health aides can all visit and care for you wherever you are. We meet your needs wherever you are.
Well, and and again, this is such an unknown. I think the thing that I guess a lot of us are fearful for is we don't know when that time is. I know that I had a relative that went into hospice, and I thought, well, that's the end. But then he went home, and so it wasn't the end. So there's a lot, and there's some anxiety there too, Lynn. Am I not correct? I mean, because you, as a family member, you want to be as prepared as you can, but a lot of times, end of life is not something you prepare for.
There are times we can increase the quality of life. If you're, I'll give an example of a cancer patient only because they normally know that when their time is coming, and if they stop doing some of the heavier chemo and they can enjoy that quality of life just a little bit. They can spend time with their family. We can help reduce the pain that they may be going through. It's a great idea if you want to find out, as Mike mentioned, to come out to the care center and take a look around, talk to somebody. We have a couple of programs. One is called the Transitions Program, that when you are ready to sit down and actually use your hospice benefit, we're happy to talk to you about it. If you get on hospice, we have respiratory therapists that can come out and help people that possibly have COPD or that are on oxygen, and can really increase the quality of life for some of those patients.
Well, this is a topic that no one really likes to talk about, but it is a part of life, the end of life, and we'll talk more with the folks from Haven Hospice when we come back. Don't go away. You're watching Perspective on FGC TV.
Planning the right amount of food is hard. The Guestimator makes it easy. Just tell it who's coming and what's for dinner. Then it tells you how much to make. And yes, it even plans for leftovers. Try it at SaveTheFood.com.
Welcome back to Perspective on FGC TV and WQHL and WCJX Radio. Lynn Sullivan, Lauren Pinchok, and Brian Coleman all represent Haven Hospice. And again, as we said, a topic that no one really likes to talk about. I'll give an example in the news. John McCain, Senator from Arizona, you learned on Friday that he is going to stop treatment, and then on Saturday afternoon he's gone. So you never know and again, a family, they probably were prepared a little bit. How important is it for hospice to prepare families for probably the most dark time in their lives? Chaplain, maybe that's a question, a spiritual question, because again, you talk about people that are in car accidents and death happens immediately and there's no time to prepare. Now you've at least had maybe even 6 months to prepare for the inevitable.
Well, let me say to begin with, although you can prepare, no one is ever fully prepared for what's going to take place. But a key part of what the whole clinical team, doctors, nurses, social workers, home health aides, chaplains, we all are there to help families come to terms with and deal with some of the challenges and difficulties that they face. And so, although you can make preparations, and certainly we provide help in that, you're never fully prepared when a loved one is going to pass. Partly because, and I want to venture back to an earlier question, oftentimes when people come on hospice, they feel like they're giving up, or they're giving up hope, and really it's just another choice that they're making. That's why in our mission statement it says, honoring life through care, comfort, and compassion. Because it's a different way that you're choosing to live. If you continue on the hospital track, which our hospitals are very valuable and they do a fantastic service, but you're going to be constantly taking test after test, going back and seeing the doctor back and forth, and some people are just not willing to do that anymore. It's too taxing on their system. And so when they come to hospice, they are able to feel more comfortable, be at home, and not have to continue doing it. It's just a different way that they're going to live.
We talked about visitors, and again, this may be a chaplain question too. I never know how to approach someone who's at end of life. You know, it's kind of awkward. Are there any good words? I mean, what, as a friend of someone who may be about ready to pass away, what is appropriate? What, without sticking your foot in your mouth and saying something that would be inappropriate, how do you support people who are going through this, or even support families who are going through it with a loved one?
Well, one of the key distinguishing factors for chaplains is being present with people. I could probably say what is inappropriate easier than what is appropriate, because each family and person is an individual, unique to themselves, and so the people that are close to them would know them best. But things like, I know how you feel, we don't. Each individual has their own experiences and connections with their loved one that are different, even among other family members. And so sisters can differ in how they feel and what their grief they're going through. It's all unique to the individual. So the key point is to be present, to be available to them, and just love them.
What can I do for you?
And I found through the volunteers, we have a great group of No One Dies Alone volunteers that will sit with a patient who has nobody. Sometimes they don't have a church family, they don't have friends, they're new here. Sometimes they're in a facility, a nursing facility, and their loved one is in Pennsylvania, and so we have great volunteers that sit with them at the end of life. Because we don't turn away anyone regardless of ability to pay, indigents, homeless people will somehow have those situations. So it's important, and if you're in that situation and just don't know what to say, I found that just remembering those really nice memories of the loved one also just helps to the grieving loved one.
You know, Lauren, you just brought up a good point. What type of, I mean, that's a really strong person that volunteers at a hospice.
Absolutely.
I mean, talk about what type of individual that is, because you're talking about being around death and being supportive at the same time. You're almost religious to do that, like priest-like, or. Well,
and we have volunteers from all different types of backgrounds and motivations. Haven is not associated with any religion, so we respect all religions and we do not discriminate. So we have just loving people that just want to help, and volunteering is the way to go for that. And there's so many opportunities with us. We have a great Veterans Honors Program. We have currently 5 gentlemen that go to the veterans home and give them a pin, a certificate, and they just have so many stories. The veterans, they say in life, the last thing to go is the hearing. So we have a really great group of veterans that go out. We had one the other day where I had that he was from the Army. And so we have a great veteran that holds the hand of the loved ones, and the patient was unresponsive, and the wife and daughter were in the room at the time. So everyone gathered around for the veterans recognition ceremony, and the volunteer said, "Sir, I see that you were in the Army, soldier," and he squeezed his hand, and everybody in the room was like, "Oh my gosh, he hurt him." And then the wife said, "He was in the Navy." So, so we think it was him. Just he was listening, and so it's just such a lovely time to spend with loved ones and patients that don't have anybody. So we have all kind of volunteer opportunities. Mainly, our biggest need is the patient and caregiver volunteers that go into the homes and the facilities and the care center to be with those patients who don't have anybody. No One Dies Alone volunteers, just so they have somebody at their bedside. We have a really big need right now for addict thrift store volunteers. So if you're interested in that, if you're not comfortable sitting with patients, that's also another option, as well as administrative volunteers in the office. We always need those. So there's all kind of opportunities. We have a great pet visitor program. We have a giant schnauzer that comes into our care center, whether it's handler and goes into all the patient rooms that are comfortable with that. He's huge. I've never heard of a giant schnauzer, but he's like a Great Dane size.
Really? Wow.
Yes, it's amazing. And so lots of opportunities. If you have a pet at home, they don't have to be a therapy pet. We'd love to have them as part of the program because it really does bring joy to others.
Do you find your volunteers, a lot of your volunteers come from loved ones who have been through the hospice program and know what it was like for them to have somebody that was caring and could do that? And
absolutely.
So they say, "Oh, I can do that. Let me give back what was given to me."
Absolutely. And we find, especially here out at the college, with your great nursing program, you probably those students need volunteer hours, and it's such a great way to enter into that healthcare world to be a volunteer with us. So we also encourage that. But we have many volunteers I have 2 ladies right now that lost their husbands last year with us and come every day and just provide that service to our community, which it's really nice.
Is there any kind of training that obviously you don't want to make matters
Sure.
worse in a situation?
Well, and we try to prepare the volunteers for anything that could arise that would make them uncomfortable. My number one priority is the volunteer comfort. So if they're uncomfortable in any sort of situation, that's my job to make them comfortable. And we do you can apply online if you're interested at beyourhaven.org/volunteer. We'd love to have you. You can pick up an application at our office as well. But would love to have you as part of our team.
Now, another thing that Haven does, Lynn, is that bereavement support groups. There is nothing like going through this alone, like you mentioned. And so for those who may not have a large extended family, there are people that go through this in a group setting.
We do, and we have several programs. I think Brian might have a better handle on when those are being offered currently, but I do want to mention that we do provide grief and bereavement support for 13 months after your loved one passes away. We do provide grief and bereavement support for anyone in the community, whether or not you were a Haven Hospice, your loved one was a Haven Hospice patient. So, and we do have some coming up.
Absolutely. In fact, we have bereavement groups at every Haven location that are active at this moment. Certainly in Lake City, Orange Park, Chiefland, Gainesville, Palatka. You can call our local number at 386-752-9191 and just ask for Chaplain Brian if you like, or you can ask about our bereavement grief groups that meet. Our bereavement program, there is an initial bereavement call that happens within the first 7 days after a loved one passes. Then there are periodic periods in which a call is just to reach out to families to see if they might want some support. It's not to push anything on anyone. Oftentimes, some people need space. They need time to think through and work through some of their own difficulties with losing a loved one. Other people want to join in real quick, and they get a renewed spirit and energy by being in a group. And so either one of those, we're not here to push anything on anyone. It's just to give access to support if a family needs it.
Now, I know that you provided some material for us. There's a Camp Haven that takes place. I guess you've got one coming up in September and one in October in, I believe, Orange Park in Gainesville. That, Brian, is for children that are going through a tough time because they've lost a parent way too young.
Absolutely, and there are fantastic relationships that are developed. Each child, according to their age and their age group, are amongst other peers who have experienced something similar. As I said before, each grief event is unique to the person, even with children. And so, but they are there with other like-minded groups and their peer groups to gather support and care. And so, and it's open to the public. Anyone can come participate.
All right, we're going to take our last break of the program. Time out for some business. You're watching Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television and WQHL WCJX. Don't go away.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Perspective, we've got folks representing Haven Hospice, and we've been talking about a topic that's very hard to discuss. You mentioned we were talking about Camp Haven and some of the support groups. We didn't have those dates, but what are they for the camp?
Yeah, well, Camp Safe Haven in Orange Park is going to be Saturday, September 29th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. In Gainesville, it's going to be October the 20th on a Saturday at the E.T. York Hospice Care Center in Gainesville. That's from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. as well.
And you had the dates that are, or the day of the week that this support group meets, bereavement support group.
Yeah, the ones here in Lake City as Grieving and Loss is the first Thursday of each month from 1 to 2 p.m. Coping with Grief is the first Friday of each month, 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. And again, you can call the 386-752-9191 number and ask, and they'll get you any information that you need.
Yeah, and any questions you have, that number and that website, beyourhaven.org, will get you the information you need. Thank you all for being on the program today.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate the hard job that you guys do on a daily basis at Haven Hospice. And thank you for watching Perspective on Florida Gateway College Television. Until next time, I'm Mike McKee. Bye-bye.